Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome back to the channel. I am Bergeau, also known as B. Elise, and I am the owner of B. Elise Notary Services, as well as the founder and president of the Notary Education Group. So every Sunday, I try my best to come live and speak to you guys about notary business related topics, tips, and answer your questions in real time. Right? If you ever find any of the information that I share to you to be helpful for others, please make sure that you like and share. And don't forget to subscribe so that when I go live, you will be notified. I know you're like, dang, she jumped right into it this evening. But yes, I got quite a bit to talk about, so I just want to get right into it. All right. I need to close my door. So give me just a minute. Okay, door is closed. Now, what we're going to be talking about tonight is how to avoid this nickel and diming that you guys are doing. I understand that we are all in business to make money. Absolutely get that. But it's very scary when we start trying to nickel and dime our customers just for the sake of, and it really doesn't boil down to you want to make more money. It boils down to you really not understanding your value versus the actual work that we're doing. All right. There's no reason why, if a person comes to me, brings me their documents, I notarize five, different documents for them, and that's all that I'm doing, and I charge them more than the standard $10 per stamp that we can charge in Florida. Now, to me, that's a nominal fee for a person to pay. That's the same amount that they're going to pay when they go to UPS or I think that check cash in place. I forget the name of it. $50. All right. I'm not doing nothing more than providing notary services. Okay. Now, when you are getting into utilizing more of your supplies and resources, like using my printer, using paper, toner, traveling to and from, doing some scanning and things like that, then, yeah, I charge a little bit more for that, but it's not double what I would charge. It's a nominal fee of maybe between $5 and $10, honestly. And then for travel, is based off of the IRS rate and my time that I'm spending, which all of my customers, they understand that because my fees are very transparent and reasonable. All right. So let's go into why people are nickel and diming. So it really boils down to you not really having a good idea of how to manage your expenses. Okay. There is no reason why we shouldn't all be making sure that we optimize the amount of money we're spending on supplies. Okay. I do a lot of printing, so I'm not ever going to purchase five reams at a time. I'm not going to do that. I will go through that. Okay. And even for those who don't go through it, I think that is a better idea for you to buy more than what you need, because you will go through it and you will get more for your money. So, what I do is whenever I get um, notifications from Office Depot or Staples on their supplies, I like to take advantage of it, especially for paper. We know that legal paper and letter paper is the size paper that we're going to be using when we're printing real estate documents, okay, for the most part. Hi, Michael. Good evening. And so I'm going to need both sizes. So legal costs more than letter, okay? I think I spent 40 between 45 and $50 on letter, and that's for a box of 10 reams. Okay, and if you don't know what a ream is, it's a pack of paper, 500 sheets per pack. And then for legal, I think I pay 20 more dollars. So I may pay anywhere between 65, $70 for legal. And I also get 10 reams of that one. And I think it's 500 that comes in the legal, right? Yeah. 500 sheets come in a ream or a pack of paper for legal as well. So I'm making sure that I purchase a box every time. When I get down to maybe 4 reams, that's when I'm getting some more. I'm not even going to wait until I'm down to 1 or 2 because that just makes no sense. I can go through that 1 and 2 reams of paper very quickly. So when I get down to like 4 reams, then that's when I'm ordering more paper. I get pens. I don't have to buy pens all the time. Okay, these are my pens here. Okay, I got black and I got blue. I don't have to order that all the time. Toner and drums. I have went through toner maybe 4 times within the 5 years I've been doing this. I didn't heavily start going through toner until I became full time. But even still, I think I've only changed my toner twice, and I've changed my not twice. I'm sorry, my drum maybe twice. Toner, maybe every maybe 4 or 5 months. I mean, you don't really go through the supplies as fast as you guys are thinking. So when I see that you are trying to charge $20 to print 200 sheets of paper, that is a lot of money because that's not how much it costs you to print it. Okay. My toner, I can print 12,000 sheets and I don't use Brother brand. So for some of you, it's like, what? For Brother brand, I think you can do 18,000, I think, sheets on one toner, but I don't. I buy the off brand and it works for me just fine. So 12,000 sheets of paper on a toner, and I think I maybe pay $20 for a toner, and it takes me about 5 months to go through it. So why am I charging $20 to print? Okay, and paper. If oh oh sorry, my screen froze. And then for paper, if I am spending $50 for 10 reams of paper, that means that 500 sheets, which is one pack, will cost me $5. Okay, so if I print 200, that is half, so 250. So guys, this is what I mean. If you are going to try to recoup 100% of your expenses, that's not realistic. No business recoups 100% of their expenses. They real and true businesses understand that there is a true um, loss, that businesses are going to take when it comes to expenses. All right. So I really want to break this down for you guys. Focus on making sure that your expenses are as low as they can be. Okay. Your expenses compared to your revenue really should fall between a 30 and 40% range. And actually 40%, anything over 40% is really pushing it. You want to get as close to that 40 to 35% range when it comes to your expenses, okay? Because that's when you're going to see yourself making money. You're not going to make money if your expenses are 50% of your revenue. Like, what? Who does that? And a lot of people do, unfortunately. So, hi, Stephanie. Good evening. And a lot of people do that, and it's so easy to do. So, I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was telling her that one of the things that I had to do when I decided I was going to go full time was I had to make sure that my expenses were low. And me and her had already discussed this, but it was more important for me because she still has her W-2 job. I don't. So all of the money that I make for notary, it has to go every which way. Whereas when I was working a W-2 job, my W 2 job was a crutch for me because I knew I could spend whatever I wanted. Like it just didn't matter. I spent as much money as I wanted to on my business. I would use my work to pay bills, and it would take up my check. Bills would take up my check because I didn't make a whole lot of money. But when my business, I would use that for my extra money. Okay, and I probably wouldn't spend that much on expenses with it because I would use whatever I would have left over, if any, from the paycheck for W 2. So it was me having to crunch those numbers and realize I was well over the expense amount that I needed to be at safely in order for me to operate my business full time and see the fruits of my labor, right? So making sure you check, and everybody should have a list. Okay, I have a spreadsheet that I keep whenever I add an expense. Excel, it calculates automatically for me. You just put in those basic formulas to calculate each column based on what your rows are, and that way I know if I am meeting or exceeding or below the amount that I need to be. Okay. And this is super important for you guys, even having a W 2. Okay. Don't fall into the trap that I did, having your W 2 be your crutch because you're like, well, I got two incomes, so it really don't matter. It does matter. It really does. Because if you are not exceeding that percentage for expenses, then you don't have the need or feel the need to nickel and dime your customers. Okay. I hope that's making sense for you guys. So let me go over to my script so I can start from top and work my way to the bottom. Okay. So the problem with nickel and diming is customers and clients, they really hate it. Okay. They really hate being nickel and dimed, and they can absolutely tell when they're being nickel and dimed. Okay. Especially if you are a notary who don't have your costs already figured out before you get a phone call. A lot of notaries, they're operating backwards. Okay. They haven't done any of the admin, they haven't established a fee schedule or anything like that. And I know for some of you, if you haven't been doing the job, you're not going to have a fee schedule, but you can. I've showed you guys on several different videos on how to set up a base fee schedule and then change it as you start to pick up work so that you know what it really takes to do the job. When you know what it really takes to do the job, you can um, price it accordingly. But when you're first starting out, just start off with some base figures, okay? If your state has a number that they want you to charge per stamp, you can charge up unto that number. You just can't go above it. We don't have to charge the exact amount that the state mandates. The state says that we can charge up to this amount, which means I'm in Florida, I can charge $10 a stamp or I can charge less. And sometimes I do charge less based upon my customer's situation. I do like to be flexible because I like to help out my community first and foremost. So I can charge up to that amount. If you are in a state that does not mandate travel, you can use the IRS rate for travel as your base. Okay, so 67 cents per mile. All right. If you are in a city that is rural, which means you're going to be driving far to get everywhere, then you may want to factor in how far it is to take. It not is to take. It takes you to get to different places. Use that base number to your advantage. Okay. I will tell you that my fees have changed since I became a notary in 2020. It's 2025 now. And the reason why my fees have changed because now I know what it takes to do the job. And that's what you have to go off of. Starting right off, you're not going to make the money. Okay, you're going to take a loss. There is research and studies that say the first 5 years a business is operating, they're going to have a loss probably every year. Okay. Doesn't mean it's going to be a total loss, but you're going to have some loss. You just are. Okay. And that is just how it works. Eventually, your loss will decrease, but you're still going to have some loss. All right. I do want you guys to be, mindful of that. The root issue, what I'm finding is really not greed for people. Like I said, It's the lack of cost awareness. If you are one of those people who you want to go buy two reams of paper, now you got to pay. You're paying $25 for two reams of paper. One ream will be $11. I've seen it in the store. It'd be like $8 to $11 for one ream of paper. That's crazy. I would not. And now I see that they're starting to do more than 500 sheets in a ream too. I think my mom bought one ream of paper for it was 750 sheets from Target, I think. And I think she may have paid the $11. But my mom, she's not a mobile notary, so she can do that. Okay, I'm a mobile notary. There's no way I'm paying $11 for one pack of paper. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not. I get boxes delivered to my house whenever I run out. Yeah, I saw it. Stephanie, when my mom bought it, I was like, oh, I didn't even know they had that. So, yes, knowing without knowing your true costs, okay, this is when you're going to be tacking on those little bitty fees for absolutely whatever. It's like you don't even know. I, I told you guys last time we were live that my friend, she was in a Facebook group and a notary asked, they said, I have a customer who wants me to notarize 5 affidavits. They're printing their own documents. They're bringing the documents to the appointment and they're coming to me. I'm not having to travel. And I'm in Florida, so I could charge $10 per stamp. Is there any way I could charge more? Why? First, you have to give me a reason why you need to charge more because clearly you don't know how the business runs or works. If you're just trying to find a reason without actually having a reason to charge more money. I think $50 is a good amount of money for 7 minutes of my time. How many people has a job that's paying them $50 for 7 minutes of their time? Please raise your hand. I want to know what the job is so we can share it with everybody. That person should charge $10 per stamp, and that should be it, honestly. Why charge more? Totally agree. But I need to know if anybody else knows of a job that's paying them for $50, $50 for 7 minutes of their time. Maybe a doctor. You know, are there any doctors watching me? Maybe a doctor, yeah. But I really don't know many. I don't know any people. I made $250 for a closing and I drove an hour away to do, and I was there for 45 minutes. I don't know a job that's gonna pay me that much either for that amount of time. So yeah, it's just silly at this point. Exactly, Stephanie. Exactly. So my next point: why cost awareness matters. All right. Awareness means you know exactly what it takes to run your notary business. Okay. Which, like I said, some of you starting out, you may not know. This is why it's important for you to start off with some base figures. Okay. What it takes to run your business is going to be inclusive of travel, printing, supplies, insurance, and technology. Honestly, because if you're a remote online notary, you are probably paying for platform fees. Okay. I told you guys about it used to be 80%. It's more like 90 to 95% of my business is now online. Okay. So I'm doing a lot of remote online notary work and I pay a good amount in platform fees, honestly. But because of that, I sent out an email blast. I sent out an email blast to all of my clients, and only a couple of them had some additional questions on, why. And after that, every time I get a notification from them to do a remote online notary, they already include my platform fee request. So it doesn't have to be something that you just pop up on people with, like surprise, it's going to be an extra. No, you don't do that. Explain to them the reasons why. Other people who have businesses will understand. They will. A lot of my customers are business owners, small business owners. I don't know anyone who's literally not have a side gig going on. But because I know how to explain my costs to them, I never get a rebuttal. You know, every once in a while, I'll get a phone call and a person asks for the price for my services, and I'll tell them, and they'll say, okay, well, thank you. And then they never call back. And that's perfectly fine. But at least I'm not stumbling, fumbling over what it is I can do and how much I charge to do it. And that's what helps build trust with your customers. Your customers are not going to trust you if every time they call you, you're giving them some different figure for the same damn thing that they got done last time. Okay. Another, I'll tell you one thing. I think it was last week. It was last weekend. So not this past Friday, the Friday before that. I had a customer come in. They were doing a loan modification. And I understand how important those are because I did a little bit more research on why you even do it. So, any event, they called, said they were going to be on their way. They were going to be here like 10 minutes before I close, which I'm fine with that. That's why I stay open to 8 o'clock because I know that some people they get off of work and they're rushing and hurrying to get business done because they couldn't do it earlier. So they arrived here 10 minutes before I closed. And for some reason, they needed a witness. I think this maybe has been the second time I've seen where a loan mod need a witness in my career, which I thought was strange. It was Mr. Cooper, um, the I think lender or whatever. And so they wanted a witness, and my husband hadn't made it home yet. And so I told them they can either come back tomorrow with a witness because it was too late for me to call one. I have witnesses that can come, but I'm not going to call them late like that. And so they were like, okay. They were like, but you're going to be closed. I said, no, it's fine. I am willing to assist you because I know how important it is to get this paperwork done. And you need a witness. And I know that you guys really need to get this sent off as soon as possible. So they thanked me and they left. So my husband arrived home like an hour and a half later, and I gave them a call and they came back over. And it was about 9:30, something like that. And they asked me how much, and I told them it was $10. I only stamped one page. They signed like 4 pages, but I only stamped one. So I told them it will be $10. And they're like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I charge $10 per stamp. I didn't have to print nothing out. You came to me. I do understand that it was after hours, and for my after hours, I do charge $50, but that's really more for if I gotta go to you type deal. Like you came to me, I wasn't inconvenienced at all, other than the fact that I was sleepy and ready to go to bed. But it wasn't a big deal for me. They gave me $20, and so I just added that to their invoice, saying, after hour fee. Because we don't really want to get into the habit of taking tips, because we really shouldn't be. But yeah, I didn't feel the need to do it. And as an added service, because I have excellent customer service, I asked them if they would like for me to make copy for them because I noticed they didn't have a copy. And the husband, he was like, well, we got a copy home. But the wife was like, but it's a blank copy. I was like, exactly. He was like, okay, yeah, you could do that. That would be nice. And so I went ahead and made a copy for him. It was about 11 pages. And I was like, here you go. And that was it. And I probably have a continued customer because of my excellent customer service and my understanding and flexibility. I'm not saying that you always have to do that, but sometimes there will be a situation that comes about where you have to exercise that excellent integrity that you have as being a notary public. All right, guys. So the last point for the cost of awareness, right? When you know the numbers, you can price with confidence, and there don't have to be any surprises to your customers on your fees. Right? Now, efficiency equals savings. We always want to save. And I don't know who doesn't. Like Stephanie, she talks to people all the time about how to maximize your spending, because you have the money, right? But we don't want to spend all of it on this much. We really want, if we got money, we want to spend it on this much stuff, right? Like we used to back in the day. So making sure that you take advantage of those savings is super important. Sign up to those office supply stores. Even office supply stores that are online, who they have lower costs because they don't have a brick and mortar. Sign up with those. Okay. Whenever they're having deals and sales, try to take advantage of them within your means. Okay. Yes, absolutely, Stephanie. So, smart practices help reduce waste and lower expenses. And here are some examples: route planning to minimize mileage. Okay. For me, what I've been doing is, in Florida, we have toll roads, right? So, what I try to do is if I know I'm going to be going far, I try my best to avoid toll roads. Now, yes, that does mean it's going to take me a little longer to get to my destination sometimes. But if I don't have the added expense of the toll fees, then that means that I am saving on the back end. Okay, because sometimes the saving on the back end is way better than the saving in the front end. I'm sorry, you know. Batch printing instead of one-off runs. Okay, which means that um, make sure that if you are in a family like myself, like I have teenagers, okay, so they do have to use printers. You know what I'm saying? So I have a family printer, I have my work printer. Okay, I have to make sure that I separate the two. You should never commingle your personal stuff with your business stuff. And this is why I talk to people about Cash App and Zelle, because a lot of them are getting those funds into their personal account and then transfer it to their business account. And you don't want to do that. Just make sure that you have a business account that will accept Zelle. And Cash App, I frown upon Cash App on any type of business transaction. It's just not safe at all. Yeah, you talk about the kids. Yeah, sometimes they do have to do papers and they have to print them out and take them to school to turn them in. Yeah, and my daughter is in high school and she says that um, she's in medical academy and they made her write her notes and turn them in. So my baby hand be all cramped up. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I thought too that everything was digital, but I guess not. Stephanie, always keep everything personal and business separate, please. Yes, you got to, guys. That's the only way you're going to keep up with tracking your expenses and your revenue. Like it's mad difficult trying to do that when you have your personal account is your only account for everything. Trust me, I did that when I first started business in 2013. I had a skincare product line, and excuse me, I did not separate. And at the end of every year, it was very difficult for me to try to help my tax preparer help me by trying to figure out what was business, what wasn't, because I only had the one account. So yeah, don't make my mistake. Okay. Since I've had two businesses before the one I have currently, I've had the opportunity to have a lot of trial and error. But Stephanie is correct. Please make sure that you are keeping the two separate. So, but in any event, I make sure that these printers are not going to be used for anything but business, and then the personal printer is used for personal stuff. Okay. And using online scheduling and payment tools to cut admin time. That's important too, because if you're spending a lot of time on admin, then you have less time to operate and work your business. Okay, so we want to try our best to utilize tools that are reasonably priced. Of course, you don't want to fall into those contract subscriptions. Me and Stephanie did. I had a contract that I signed up for. It was $99 a month. And after the first 3 months of using it, I saw that it was not working for me. But unfortunately, because I signed a contract for a whole year, I had to keep paying that $99. So I lost $1,200 signing up for something that I thought was going to help my business, and it did not. And that was my fault because I didn't do my research. But you want to absolutely try your best to use online tools. Okay. And Stephanie said, listen, I have a current contract that I can't get rid of yet. Yeah, miss. Try your best to automate your back office. Absolutely. Lower cost equals less pressure to inflate your prices. Okay. Like I said, utilizing an Excel spreadsheet is very helpful, guys, because it lists you. Sometimes you got to see stuff in black and white. And here's Princess. Princess is always the one who wants to be on camera. All right. So instead of nickel and diming, okay, you want your price to reflect clarity and fairness. All right. So let's just talk about it. I want you guys to do the 3E approach. Okay. And I'm gonna put this in the chat here. The 3E approach. Okay. Let me share it. So you want to examine your costs, eliminate waste, and establish pricing. All right. Examine costs. You want to list everything you spend monthly. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Michael. I use Humble Facts. I spend $10 a month for it, and you get your own phone number because I have had customers who come in and they need to fax things to an attorney. I have one customer, they have business in Canada that they have to do, and that attorney wants fax, not email. So Humble Fax, $10 a month. I love it. I've had them for a year now, I think. And it works. Now they don't I used to have eFax, which was a little bit more money, and I stopped using them, but I had eFax for years and they went up on their pricing and I kept it still, but they had an app that I liked that I could use for my phone. Humble Fax doesn't have an app, but if you have your computer and if you can go on, I think you can go online with your phone. As long as you have the document saved as a file, you can upload it and then fax it. You are welcome. All right, so eliminate waste. We got to find the efficiencies and that drain our profit. Okay, get rid of anything you know that you're not really using or is not really helpful. And another thing that I was just so stupid. You guys know I have Zoho One. Zoho One is a full work suite of apps. Any and everything you need for your business, they have it. But because they have so much in my subscription, I wasn't doing the research to see how to utilize all of them. So that's why I was using outside services that literally I had access to through my subscription I was already paying. So once I found that out, I was able to eliminate a lot of wasteful subscriptions, contracts, and expenses, period. So that's another thing. If you have an all-in-one work suite, you need to be making sure that you are using it to its full capacity. Even for stuff you don't know how to use, you can learn how to use it. Um, YouTube University. Okay. Let me see, Stephanie. Don't get me started with the stupidity. With my stupidity when it comes to Zoho One, paying for outside apps that already come with the suite. Yep, you're not the only one, Stephanie. You're not the only one. It's just that they offer so much, and you literally have to play around with it. And there's just some things that you are not going to know how to use, and I'm guilty of it. I still have to watch their YouTube videos to try to figure out how to use some of their apps because I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could do this. Okay. So, the reality of business expenses, guys, in a perfect world, every expense would be fully factored into your pricing, right? But the reality is it's nearly impossible. Okay. It's impossible for you to pass 100% of your cost directly to your clients, okay, without scaring them away with your sky high fees. And I get so tired of hearing people say, well, my fees are high because I know my value. Do you? Because high fees doesn't really show value if you're not able to explain why you're charging that. I'll say it again. Charging high fees does not show your value if you don't know how to explain them. I have a reason for every fee that I charge, and I am able to explain it to my customers without saying, hold on, let me figure this out. Oh, let me see. Oh, no, no, no. Because I have a reason for all of my fees, okay? And if you don't, that is something that you need to take a step back on and re-educate yourself on what it is that you're actually doing so that you are not blindsiding your customers or better yet, losing them because of that. Stephanie says she went to a BizFest Spring Score event and spoke to an IT professional and mentioned she used Zoho One. He told me stay there and don't go anywhere else. Yep, bingo. I've spoke to people too. Better Business Bureau uses Zoho One. So Zoho One is that, yeah. And I'm grandfathered in, so I'm not paying the fees that some of the new people are paying now. But it's a great tool. I've been using them. I was using them with my travel agency that I closed in. I had my travel agency from 2016 to 2021, I think, is when I closed that. And I wasn't having to use Zoho as much as I use it now, but I was using it and I fell in love with it right off the bat. So, true businesses, they understand that some costs are built in losses. Y'all hear that? As a business owner, you're going to have built in losses. You have to understand this. And this is the cost of doing business. Okay. The wear on your car, phone bills, admin hours, you can't always charge for that stuff. Okay. That's just the cost of doing business. So, yes, you can be efficient when it comes to spending your money to operate your business. Okay. But there will always be costs you cannot directly invoice for. All right. Like time spent answering client questions, renewing your notary commission or networking, you're not, so you're going to charge your customers because you went to network that month. You're going to charge them because you renewed your commission. This is silly stuff. Like, yes, you want to incorporate your expenses, but there's a better way to do it. Okay. So we're going to talk about taxes because that's super important. This is where tax write-offs balance the equation. All right. Many of expenses that you don't fully recover through pricing, like mileage and supplies and software, marketing, phone, even part of your home office, can be deducted at tax time. Those deductions lower your taxable income, which means you pay less in taxes, giving you some relief for the expenses you absorb during the year. I hope that makes sense. Because I know people like, well, that's doesn't have anything to do with today. It does not, but this is the reality of it. Okay. And actually, business owners, when they are doing it the right way, end up paying less taxes than those people who work a W-2 job. Honestly. Okay. So you got to have that business mindset shift. Okay. If you're still working a W-2, it may be a little hard for you to detach your mindset away from that to business, but you got to try to figure out how to balance it. Okay. Stop expecting every dollar spent to come back dollar for dollar in your fees. And just know that smart businesses recoup what they can in pricing and rely on tax strategies to offset the rest. Okay. The real win equals balancing reasonable pricing, efficiency, and strategic tax planning. Okay. So if you got a good tax preparer, you're good. You're golden. Okay. Now, I didn't want to let you guys step away without knowing how to figure out overhead fees, okay? Because overhead fees are direct costs, okay? Materials, time value, travel. So to find your direct service costs, okay, the bare minimum cost to perform the notarization, okay? I'm going to post this here. And what I'll try to do is maybe I'll try to make it like a note I can share with you guys or something. Okay. That's step one. Step two, you want to multiply that by your overhead percentage. Your overhead percentage could be anywhere from 10 to 20%. Okay. Then you want to add the overhead fee to your direct costs. So for example, your direct costs will be $10, right? And if you want to add, an additional fee for overhead to cover expenses, it will only be 10%, which is $1. So is it really worth it? Like, I wanted to put these numbers into perspective for you guys so that you can know that some of you are just mad ridiculous on, how this works. You just throw these things out there and you have no information or research to back your reasoning. And that is scary. Because if you are so hell bent on charging all of these fees, you need to have some reason behind it. And it can't just be because I know my value or I know my worth. That's not a reason. That's not a good reason at all. Okay. And then here's an example for another one. $25. Okay, let's say you want to do a 25%. I'm sorry. Let's say you want to do a 20% overhead cost on that. That's just $5. Okay, because all you're doing is you are multiplying your fee, okay, the total cost by 10 or 20%. If that's what you want to do. And that can be on your invoice as a service fee. Okay. And if they ask, you could just tell them this is to cover any overhead expenses I have. People will understand that more than I know my worth, I know my value. Okay. So take your true cost, multiply it by 10, 20%, and bake that into your final price. Okay, if that's what you feel the need to do. I don't feel the need to do that, but I wanted to help you guys out if you are one of those people who, well, I want to know if I could charge a little bit more. That would be an optimal amount of a little bit more. Okay, if you want to cover overhead fee. And the overhead fee is based off of the year. It's not based off of the month. Okay, so that's why it's not that much. Okay, so before we wrap up tonight, I want you to take this with you. Okay, if your annual revenue is, let's say, 60,000, okay, then your expenses should ideally sit around 30%. That's about 18,000 for the year, or 1,500 a month. Okay. But I know for notaries, because we have the travel, the printing, and the tech fees, sometimes we hit closer to 40%. Okay. And that's around 24,000 a year or 2,000 a month. Okay. So here's your takeaway. If you're closer to 30%, you're operating lean and you're maximizing your profit. If you're closer to 40%, though, you're okay, but that's your signal to sharpen your efficiency and watch your spending. Does that make sense to everyone? I really hope it does. And I will try to, let me share these with you guys. Example 1, example 2. Okay, just to show you how that pricing will look. So for her charging the $50 for the 5 affidavits, if she wanted to charge an overhead fee, she could have did 10% of that, which would be $5, for a service fee. And she can explain that. And customers would most times be like, okay, and understand it, especially if you have an outside office. Now, me, I work from home, so it's a little bit different for me. I can do tax write-offs on my home office and my electricity and things like that. But if you're in a brick and mortar, those things are going to be a little bit more for you. So, whatever. But my challenge for you guys this week is to run your numbers. Okay. Run your numbers. Find out where you stand. Are you operating at 30% or 40% for your expenses? Or are you way over because you're not tracking it? Not paying attention to it. The sooner you know, the sooner you can adjust. And when you adjust, you no longer have to nickel and dime clients just to keep up. All right. You'll be pricing with confidence, clarity, and fairness. Okay. So I am done. I hope that this information was very helpful for you guys, because I need for us to stop doing this. Stop trying to get over on a customer. Stop trying to get rich off of every single customer you meet, because the the richness comes from you doing a good job that first time and them sending people to you. Okay. Having customers be your walking advertisement by giving good word of mouth and referring you to others gives you way more money than you trying to charge them the highest amount you can for that one visit. Okay, guys, I'm telling you, the success of my business is truly from word of mouth. I have very, very good customer service. Even when I'm frustrated with the situation, I still try my best to give top notch customer service and be understanding, because sometimes people's frustration can bleed into you and then you can become frustrated. And we don't want that. We don't want to portray that to our customers. Okay. Anybody have any questions? And Michael, don't forget to look up Humble Facts. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. As Stephanie said, you are very patient through your frustrations. Oh my God. I try to be, for sure. If you guys found the video to be helpful, please make sure that you share it. All right. Sharing is caring. Like it. And then don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe, because how you going to know when I come live, especially if you're not in any of my notary groups. All right. Thank you, Michael. All right, guys, have a good night and have a wonderful week ahead. Bye.